Hi YouTube. I am getting ready for our book club. I was kind of running a little late. I had to get Clover situated and everything, but we are live. So we're going to do this book club. Tonight we are going on chapter 3 of A Court of Thorns and Roses. So yesterday we left off with chapters 1 and 2. So I'll give a summary of what you missed. If you didn't tune in for chapter 1 and 2, I'll get you guys a summary real quick. I'm just getting my batteries all plugged in. Hi New Leaf. Hi Fanny. Hi Lorraine. Let some people join. This is live. Hi guys. So I'm not doing tea tonight. It's actually really nice out. Yesterday it was kind of colder because of the wind. So I'm just gonna have sparkling water. But I do want my blanket. Clover's on top of my blanket. Hi you guys. Clover. Clover warmed up my blanket for me though. So I do want my cozy blanket. Hi everybody. Hi Jackie. Hi Janice. Hi Dee. Hi Campfires. Hi Lorraine, Fanny, New Leaf, Chris, Tina, TK, Hercules. Oh, Keeping Up. Hi. Aunt Collie, Bernadine, Trista. All right. Hello, hello. Hi, Crystal. If I didn't say hi to you guys, hello. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for being here. We got 45 people in here already. So if you're new here, my name is Steph. I'm traveling the country in my Jeep with my dog. We've been on the road for 2.5 years, and I haven't been reading. I haven't been reading books ever since I started live streaming for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or so. You know, it's been a while since I've read. So I thought I would pick up this book and give it a go, and we're doing it live. So last night, if you missed it, the live stream is recorded. It's on YouTube. Last night, we read chapters 1 and 2 of this book. My basic summary is that there is this girl. She is 19 years old. Her name is Feyre. And she's in this Hunger Games-esque situation where her and her family are really hungry. And she's out hunting. And she sees this deer, a doe. And she goes to slay it, and there's a wolf that comes out of the bushes and starts attacking her, and she takes down the wolf and she gets the deer. She brings the doe back home to her family, and we meet her family. Now the thing about the wolf is that she thought the wolf was a fairy. I guess fairies can maybe shapeshift or something. And so she thought that this wolf might be a magical creature because it was so big. It was looking at her all weird. She slayed it, and she decided that it must have just been a regular wolf. So she brought the deer home to her family. We meet her sisters. We meet her dad. Her dad's disabled. Her sisters are kind of a pain in the butt. And she's having a tryst with somebody named Isaac, which is really steamy. But Isaac might be marrying somebody else. So a lot of little layers going on. She said a wolf, yeah. Isaac is hot. I don't know. I don't know. Is he hot? Do we think he's hot? Maybe. Dang it. All right, so we're going on to chapter 3. This is page 21. It took us an hour to get through 20 pages yesterday. Oh, Valerie gifted a membership to Jackie. Thank you, Valerie. Thanks for gifting the membership. That was really nice of you. You good? You made it just in time. Now, if you guys are ever delayed or anything, you can always rewind the live stream. You can fast forward it. Well, up until the point where I'm live. You guys can always replay it too. So if you fall asleep or if you miss one, you can always go back into my live streams and replay them. Heck yeah. Hello, you guys. I'm new here. What is the channel about? I just explained, but you can rewind it, Gaming Boy, if you want. Please do a playlist. Yeah, I'm going to do a playlist. So I'm assuming maybe we can do 2 chapters each night. So it'll take us a while. I don't know how many chapters there are. There's there's over 40 chapters. So I'll probably start getting faster as we go. All right. Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you so much, Valerie. Thank you so much. All right. Clover is my dog. Clover is behind me in her dog bed. Okay, I just wanted to make sure she was settled. All right, chapter 3. What book are we talking about? This is A Court of Thorns and Roses. All right, so I just got done giving us a summary of what we did last night, so I'm just going to jump into it tonight. Hello, cool. Still can't subscribe, but I did send a Cash App to you. Chris, well, you don't have to do that. Thank you. Goodness. Thank you, Chris. You don't, I don't want you guys feeling like you got to send money and stuff. You know, you guys are here and we're having a good time. I'm going to check my Cash App real quick. Aw, Chris, you just sent $20. Oh my gosh. Thank you. That was so nice of you. That's too much. Thank you. Oh, that made my night. Yeah, you guys are so great. All right, very good. All right. Thank you so much. All right, chapter 3. The trampled, okay, and I'm not very good at this, by the way. I'm getting better. But reading out loud to people is so crazy sometimes. I'm having fun with it. All right. The trampled snow coating the road into our village was speckled with brown and black from passing carts and horses. Elaine and Nesta clicked their tongues and grimaced as we made our way along it, dodging the particularly disgusting parts. I knew why they had come. They'd taken one look at the hides that I'd folded into my satchel. Jackie, with the $6.99, let's read. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for the super chat. Let's go. I knew why they had come. They'd taken one look at the hides I'd folded into my satchel, and they grabbed their cloaks. I didn't bother talking to them as they hadn't designed to speak with me after last night. Although Nesta had awoken at dawn to chop the wood. Oh, that's good, because she was on her case about chopping the wood and she said she wouldn't. So she did get up and chop the wood. Probably because she knew I'd be selling the hides at the market today and would come home with money in my pocket. They trailed me down the lone road winding through the snow-covered fields all the way to our ramshackle village. The stone houses of the village were ordinary and dull and made grimmer by the bleakness of the winter. But it was market day, which meant the tiny square in the center of the town would be full of whatever vendors had braved the brisk morning. From a block away, the scent of hot food wafted by. Spices. Yay, it worked. You added the potato. Janice, thanks for adding the potato to your name. Holy moly. This is way better than an audiobook. Way better. Really? All good. I know that little side comments and stuff kind of maybe take away from it, but it's fun to interact with you guys still while we're reading. Valerie just sent a membership to TK. Valerie, that's so nice of you. Thank you for sending that. You guys, heck yes. Thank you. You're pretty. Okay. It was market day, which meant that the tiny square of the town would be full of whatever the vendors had braved the brisk morning. From a block away, the scent of hot food wafted by, spices that tugged on the edge of my memory, beckoning. Elaine let out a low moan behind me. Spices, salt, sugar, rare commodities for most of our village, impossible for us to afford. If I did well at the market, perhaps I'd have enough money to buy us something delicious. I opened my mouth to suggest it, but then we turned the corner and nearly stumbled into one another as we all halted. May the immortal light shine upon thee, sisters, said the pale-robed young woman directly in our path. Nesta and Elaine clicked their tongues. I stifled a groan. Perfect. Exactly what I needed, to have the children of the blessed in the town on the market day, distracting and riling everybody. The village elders usually allowed them to stay for only a few hours, but the sheer presence of the fanatic fools who still worshipped the high fade made people edgy. It made me edgy. Long ago, the high fae had been our overlords, not gods. Miss Beth Sweet Potato with the $5 super chat. Let's go. Thank you, Miss Beth. Thank you so much. I lost my spot. I got so excited. They certainly hadn't been kind. Okay, long ago the High Fae had been our overlords, not gods, and they certainly had not been kind. The young woman extended her moon-white hands in a gesture of greeting, a bracelet of silver bells, real silver, twinkling in her wrist. Have you a moment to spare so that you might hear the word of the blessed? Sounds like somebody at the rest areas that every once in a while I'll be driving down the interstate and I'll go to a rest area and there'll be some lady out there, you want to talk about the Lord? I'm like, no, I just got to go to the bathroom. No, Nesta sneered, ignoring the girl's hands and nudging Elaine into the walk. We don't. The young woman's unbound dark hair gleamed in the morning light, and her clean, fresh face glowed as she smiled prettily. There were 5 other acolytes behind her, young men and women both, their long, uncut hair, all scanning the market beyond for young folk to pester. It would take but a minute. It would take but a minute, the woman said, stepping into Nesta's path. It was impressive, truly impressive, to see Nesta go ramrod straight, her square shoulders looking down at the nose of the young woman, a queen without a throne. Go spew your fanatic nonsense to some ninny. You'll find no converts here. Aw, thanks, Miss Beth. As we embark on this journey through YouTube Live, may we all read the comment and not make sense of why we are reading it. Very profound, very profound. Multitasking. Cute face and can read well. Thanks, Lawrence. I'm blocking everybody. Oh, yeah. Okay, so if there's spammers in here, you guys can block them and you won't see their comments. It's not like on TikTok. On TikTok, you can block them and you still see their comments. So if there's people bothering you in the chat that I haven't blocked yet or whatever, you can just block them. Square shoulders, Roblox. She squared her shoulders, I guess is what I should have said. The girl shrank back, a shadow flickering in her brown eyes. I reined in my wince, perhaps not the best way to deal with them, since they could become a true nuisance if they're agitated. Nesta lifted a hand, pushing down the sleeve of her coat to show the iron bracelet there. The same one Elaine wore. They'd bought matching adornments years ago. The acolyte gasped, her eyes wide. You see this? Nesta hissed, taking a step forward. She retreated a step. This is what you should be wearing, not some silver bells to attract those fairy monsters. How dare you wear that vile affront to our immortal friends? Go preach in another town, said Nesta. 2 plump and pretty farmers' wives strolled past on their way to the market, arm in arm. As they neared the acolytes, their faces twisted with identical expressions of disgust. Fairy loving... I can't say the word. Fairy loving lady of the night. One of them hurled at the young woman. I couldn't disagree. The acolytes kept silent. The other villager, wealthy enough to have a full necklace of braided iron around her throat, narrowed her eyes, her upper lip curling back from her teeth. Don't you idiots understand what those monsters did to us for all those centuries? What they still do for sport? When they can get away with it, you deserve the end you'll meet at fairy hands. Fools and ladies of the night, all of you. Very nice. What the heck? How long will the readings remain posted? Forever. They'll be on YouTube. I'll never take them down. They'll always be on here, so you can watch them over and over again if you like. Nesta nodded her agreement to the woman as they continued on their way. We turned back to the young woman still lingering before us, and even Elaine frowned in distaste. But the young woman took a breath, her face becoming serene, and said, I lived in such ignorance too, until I heard the word of the blessed. I grew up in a village so similar to this, so bleak and grim. But not 1 month ago, a friend of my cousin went to the border to offer our... a friend of our cousin... Wait, what? But not 1 month ago, a friend of my cousin went to the border as our offering to Prythian. and she has not been sent back. So now she dwells in the riches and comforts of as a high phase bride. And so might you if you were to take a moment to ... She was likely eaten, says Nesta. That's why she hasn't returned. Or worse, I thought, if a high fae truly was involved in spiriting a human into Prythian. I've never encountered such the cruel, human-looking high fae who ruled Prythian itself, or the fairies who occupied their lands, with their scales and wings and long spindly arms that could drag you deep, deep below the surface of a forgotten pond. I didn't know which would be the worst to face. The acolyte's face tightened. Our benevolent masters would never harm us. Prythian is a land of peace and plenty. Should they bless you with their attention, you would be glad to live amongst them. Every time she says ladies of the night, I think of tombstone women in saloons. Well, it's the W word, you know. You can't say that, so... I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can on YouTube. Maybe you can say it. I don't know. I'm assuming you can't. I'm too TikTok trained. I have to substitute the words because I'm like, what if I get demonetized? Hello, hello. Hi, you guys. We're reading this book. We're on page 24. Oh, Nesta rolled her eyes. Elaine was shooting glances between us and the market ahead, to the villagers now watching too. Time to go. Nesta opened her mouth again, but I stepped between them and ran an eye along the girl's pale blue robes, the silver jewelry on her. Sharon Bright, Sugar Cookie, keep smiling, Steph, with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Sharon. Aw, thanks for the super chats, you guys. Heck yeah, we've had $13.88 worth of super chats today. Trista, adding to that, $1.99. Thank you so much, Trista. Love the hair. Thanks, Jackie. Wow, you're stunning. Hello. How are you doing? What's up? Hi, John. Hey, you guys. We're reading this book. We're doing a book reading. We are doing an hour every night. We just got done doing a campfire. So if you guys are just coming in and you're new here, I'm traveling the country in my Jeep with my dog, and we started this book club, and I just read this book for about an hour every night. This is our second time. I cooked up some sausage and salad earlier. We did a campfire, and now we're reading. How did you get the blue under the gray? I don't have gray chicken. Although... it looks kind of gray right now, doesn't it? It's the gray blanket. It just makes my hair look gray. My hair is brown. All right. I lost my spot. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out where it was. You're fighting an uphill battle, I said to her. A worthy cause, the girl beamed to beatifically. I don't know what this word is. Beautifully, I'll say. Hello, you guys. How did I get the blue under like that? I posted a video showing how I did it. I didn't do tinfoil. I just parted my hair and dyed it this way. There's a video on my YouTube if you want to watch it. I gave Nesta a gentle push to get her walking and said to the acolyte, no, it's not. As in, no, it's not a worthy cause. I could feel the acolyte's attention still fixing on us as we strode into the busy market square, but I did not look back. They'd be gone soon enough, off to preach in another town. We'd have to take a long way out of the village to avoid them. When we were far enough away, I glanced over her shoulder at my sisters. Elaine's face remained set in a wince, but Nesta's eyes were stormy, her lips thin. I wondered if she'd stomp back to the girl and pick a fight. Not my problem, not right now. I'll meet you here in an hour, I said, and didn't give them time to cling to me before slipping into the crowded square. It took me 10 minutes to contemplate my three options. There were my usual buyers, the weathered cobbler, the sharp-eyed clother who came to our market from a nearby town. And then the unknown. A mountain of women sitting at the lip of our broken square fountain, without any cart or stall, but looking like they were holding court nonetheless. The scars and weapons on her clearly marked her the scars and weapons on her marked her easily enough as a mercenary. I could feel the eyes of the cobbler and clother on me, sense their feigned disinterest as they looked at the satchel I bore. Fine, it would be that sort of day then. Fanny the fairy. I could feel the eyes. Fine, it would be that sort of day then. I approached the mercenary, whose thick dark hair was shorn to her chin. Her tan face seemed hewn of granite, and her black eyes narrowed slightly at the sight of me. Such interesting eyes, not just one shade of black, but many, with hints of brown that glimmered amongst the shadows. Megan, what? $1.99 super chat, Megan. Look forward to your lives. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat, Megan. Thank you, you guys. This is fun. Let's see. I pushed against the useless part of my mind, the instincts that had me thinking about color and light and shape, and kept my shoulders back as she assessed me as a potential threat or employer. The weapons on her, gleaming and wicked, were enough to make me swallow and stop a good 2 feet away. I don't barter goods for my services, she said, her voice clipped with an accent I've never heard before. I only accept coin. A few passing villagers tried their best not to look too interested in our conversation, especially when I said, "Then you'll be out of luck. This is not the sort of place." She was massive, even sitting down. "What is your business with me then, girl?" She could have been aged anywhere from 25 to 30, but I suppose I looked like a girl in her eyes, with all the layers gangly from hunger. "I have a wolf pelt and a doe hide for sale. I thought you might be interested in purchasing them." "Did you steal them?" "No," I held her stare. "I hunted them myself, I swear it." She ran those dark eyes down me again. "How?" Not a question, a command. Perhaps someone who had encountered others who did not see vows as sacred, words as bond, and had punished them accordingly. So I told her how I had brought them down, and when I finished, she flickered a hand towards my satchel. "Let me see it." I pulled out both carefully folded hides. "You weren't lying about the wolf's size," she murmured. "Doesn't seem like a fairy, though." She examined them with an expert eye, running her hands over and under. She named her price, and I blinked. But I stifled the urge to blink a second time. She was overpaying by a lot. She looked beyond me, past me. "I'm assuming those 2 girls watching from across the square are your sisters. You all have that brassy hair and that hungry look about you." Indeed, they were still trying their best to eavesdrop without being spotted. "I don't need your pity," I said. "No, but you need my money, and the other traders have been cheap all morning. Everyone's too distracted by those calf-sized, zealous bleeding across the square." She jerked her chin towards the children of the blessed, still ringing their silver bells and jumping into the path of anyone who tried to walk by. The mercenary was smiling faintly when I turned back to her. "It's up to you, girl," she said. "Why?" She shrugged. "Someone once did the same for me and mine, at a time when we needed it the most. Figured I would pay what's due." I watched her again, weighing. "My father has some wood carvings that I could give you as well to make it more fair." "I travel light," she said, "and I have no need for them. These, however," she patted the pelts of her hands, "these save me the trouble of killing them myself." I nodded, my cheeks heated as she reached for the coin purse inside her heavy coat. It was full and weighed down with at least silver, possibly gold. If the clinking was any indication, mercenaries tended to be well paid in our territory. "Chicken, you're getting muted. Stop being so weird. You're spamming our chat. You're putting you in timeout, sir. You're in time, sir. You're in timeout for 30 minutes. You're in timeout." You're in timeout. Oh, wait, did the chicken put a potato next to their name? Heck if I know. Did they not need to be in timeout? Were they being nice? They look like they were spamming the chat. I'm sorry, chicken. Were you being nice or were they spamming the chat? Either way, you're muted for spamming the chat. They were about to put a potato in their name. They were about to put a potato in their name. Why were they balking? I don't know. We don't need that in the chat. I'm sorry, chicken. You're muted for balking too much in the chat. You can still put a potato in your name if you want. Okay. Our territory was too small and poor to maintain a standing army to monitor the wall with Prythian. And we villagers could rely only on the strengths of our treaty forged 500 years ago. But the upper class could afford hired swords like this woman to guard their lands bordering the immortal realm. It was an illusion of comfort, just as the markings of our threshold were. We all knew, deep down, that there was nothing to be done against the fairies. We'd all been told it, regardless of class or rank, from the moment that we were born. The warnings sung to us while we rocked in the cradles, the rhymes chanted in schoolyards. One of the high fae could turn your bones to dust from 100 yards away. Not that my sisters or I had ever seen it. But we still tried to believe that anything might work against them if we were to encounter them. There were 2 stalls in the markets catering to those fears, offering up charms and baubles and incantations and bits of iron. I couldn't afford them, and if they did indeed work, they would buy us only a few minutes to prepare ourselves. Running was futile, so was fighting. But Nesta and Elaine still wore their iron bracelets whenever they left the cottage. Even Isaac, the guy that she's having a tryst with, even Isaac had an iron cuff around one wrist, always tucked under his sleeve. He'd once offered to buy me one, but I refused. It felt too personal, too much like payment, too permanent, as a reminder of what we were and weren't to each other. Is this why she gets taken? Because she doesn't have a freaking iron. She doesn't have a piece of metal on her wrist. The girl should have got a piece of metal on her wrist. This book wouldn't have been anything if she had gotten a piece of metal on her wrist, I bet. We still love you, chicken. Did chicken put a potato next to his name? That's funny, chicken. Thank you. Oh, wait, hold on. The mercenary transferred the coins to my waiting palm, and I tucked them into my pocket, their weight as heavy as a millstone. There was no possible chance that my sisters hadn't spotted the money, no chance they weren't already wondering how they might persuade me to give it to them. Thank you, I said to the mercenary, trying and failing to keep the bite from my voice as I felt my sisters sweep closer like vultures circling a carcass. She really doesn't like her sisters. The sisters are like starving and, and she's like, you just want my money. And they're like, we're starving, we're dying. Can you give us a gold coin? Hi guys, just got done scratching. Oh, well, then you're in the right place. All right, that person's getting blocked. The mercenary stroked the wolf pelt. A word of advice from one hunter to another. I lifted my brows. Don't go far into the woods. I wouldn't even get close to where you were yesterday. A wolf this size would be the least of your problems. More and more I've been hearing stories about those things slipping through the wall. A chill spider walked down my spine. A chill spider? That's interesting. I've never heard it called a chill spider before. A chill spider walked down my spine. Are they going to attack? If it was true, I would find a way to get my family out of our miserable, damp territory and head south. Head far from the invisible wall that bisected our world before they could cross it. Once, long ago, and for millennia before that, we had been slaves to high fae overlords. Once we had built them glorious, sprawling civilizations from our blood and sweat, built them temples to their feral gods. Once we had rebelled. Across every land and territory, the war had been so bloody, so destructive, that it took 6 mortal queens crafting the treaty for the slaughter to cease on both sides and for the wall to be constructed. The north of our world conceded to the high fae and fairies, who took their magic with them. The south too we cowering mortals. The south too we cowering mortals, forever forced to scratch out a living from the earth. No one knows what the Fae are planning, the mercenary said, her face like stone. We don't know if the High Lord's leash on their beast is slipping or if they are targeted attacks. I guarded for an old nobleman who claimed it was getting worse these past 50 years. He got on a boat south 2 weeks ago and told me I should leave if I was smart. Before he sailed off, he admitted that he had word from one of his friends that in the dead of the night, a pack of Martaks crossed the wall and tore half his village apart. Hi, Eminal. Hi, guys. Martaks, I breathed. I knew there were different types of fairies, that they varied as much as any other species of animals, but I only knew a few by name. The mercenary's night dark eyes flickered. Body big as a bear, head something that looks like a lion, and 3 rows of teeth sharper than a shark's, and meaner than all 3 put together. They left the villagers in literal ribbons, the nobleman said. My stomach churned. Behind us, my sister seems fragile, their skin so infinitely delicate and shreddable. Again, she really doesn't like her sisters. Against something like that Martax, we would never stand a chance. Those children of the blessed were fools, fanatic fools. So we don't know what all these attacks mean, the mercenary went on, other than more hires for me and you keeping well away from the wall, especially if the high fae start turning up. Or worse, one of the high lords. They would make the Martax seem like dogs. I studied her scarred hands, chapped from the cold. Have you ever faced another type of fairy? Her eyes shuddered. You don't want to know, girl, not unless you want to be hurling up your breakfast. I was indeed feeling ill and jumpy. Was it deadlier than the Martax, I dared ask? The woman pulled back the sleeve of her heavy jacket, revealing a tanned, muscular forearm flecked with gruesome, twisted scars. They were... the arc of them so similar to. Didn't have the brute force or size of a Martax, she said, but its bite was full of poison. 2 months, that's how long I was down. 4 months until I had the strength to walk again. She pulled up the leg of her trousers. Beautiful, I thought, even though the horror of it writhed in my gut. Against her tan skin, the veins were black, solid black, spider-webbed and creeping like frost. The healer said there was nothing to be done for it, that I'm lucky to be walking with the poison still in my legs. Maybe it'll kill me one day, maybe it'll cripple me, but at least I'll go knowing I killed it first. The blood in my own veins seemed to chill as she lowered the cuff of her pants. If anyone in the square had seen, no one dared speak about it or come closer. And I'd had enough for one day, so I took a step back, steadying myself against what she'd told me and shown me. Thanks for the warnings, I said. Her attention flicked behind me and she gave a faintly amused smile. Good luck. Sup, I am a chill spider. Hi, Captain Mutt. Then a slender hand clamped into my forearm, dragging me away. I knew it was Nesta before I even looked at her. They're dangerous, Nesta hissed, her fingers digging into my arm as she continued to pull me away from the mercenary. Don't go near them again. I stared at her for a moment and then at Elaine, whose face had gone pale at night and tight. Is there something I need to know? I asked quietly. I couldn't remember the last time Nesta had tried to warn me about anything. Elaine was the only one who she bothered to really look after. They're brutes. The reason why her sisters, in my opinion, behave the way they do and are close with each other is because she's kind of a jerk to them. She's kind of like putting them down in her head and they can tell. I feel like the two of them are like scrambling together and she's like, oh, get off of me. I don't know, maybe that's just me. All right. They're brutes, and they will take any copper they can get, even if it's by force. I glanced at the mercenary, who was still examining her pelts. She robbed you? Oh, Valerie! Valerie, go Valerie. Valerie just sent a subscription to Erica. Thank you so much, Valerie. Or Eric A. Or is it Erica or Eric A? Oh, heck yeah. Thank you, Valerie. They're brutes. They will take any copper they can get, even if it's by force. I glanced at the mercenary and said, she robbed you? No, not her, Elaine murmured. Some other who passed through. We've only had a few coins and he got mad, but still. Why didn't you report him then, or tell me? What could you have done? Nesta sneered. Challenged him to a fight with your bow and arrows? And who in the sewer of a town would even care if we reported anything? What about your Thomas Mandery? I said coolly. Nesta's eyes flashed, but a movement behind me caught her eye, and she gave me what I suppose was her attempt at a sweet smile, probably as she remembered the money I now carried. Your friend is waiting for you, she said. I turned. Indeed, Isaac was watching from across the square. That's the guy that she had a tumble with. Arms crossed as he leaned against a building. Though the eldest son of the only well-off farmer in our village, he was still lean from the winter, and his brown hair had turned shaggy. Relatively handsome, soft-spoken and reserved, but with a sort of darkness running beneath it all that had drawn us to each other, that shared that understanding of how wretched our lives were and would always be. We'd vaguely known each other for years since my family had moved to the village, but I had never thought much about him until we'd wound up walking down the main road together one afternoon. We'd only talked about the eggs he was bringing to market, and I'd admired the variation in colors within the basket he bore. Can you imagine you're walking with some guy and you're like, oh yeah, your eggs are really nice colors. So far, I don't like her sisters that much either. They expect her to do everything. That's true, Potato Vero. Hi, you guys. The eggs were brown and tan and the palest blues and the greenest greens. Simple, easy, perhaps a bit awkward, but he'd left me at my college feeling quite so alone. A week later, I pulled him into that decrepit barn. So she goes from admiring his eggs to like making out with him in the barn. We're on page 31, in the middle of page 31. Hi, City Boy Dan. He'd been my first and only lover in 2 years since. Oh, that was 2 years ago? He'd been my first and only lover in the 2 years since. Sometimes we'd meet every night for a week. Others we'd go a month without setting eyes on each other. But every time was the same, a rush of shed-in clothes and shared breaths and tongues and teeth. Occasionally we'd talk, or rather he'd talk, about the pressures and burdens his father placed on him. Often we wouldn't say a word the entire time. I couldn't say our lovemaking was particularly skilled, but it was still a release, a reprieve, a bit of selfishness. There was no love between us and never had been, at least what I presume people mean when they talk about love. Yet part of me had sunk when he'd said he would soon be married. I wasn't yet desperate enough to ask him to see me after he was wed. Isaac inclined his head in a familiar gesture and then ambled off down the street, out of town and to the ancient barn, where he would be waiting. Ew, that's so dirty feeling. We were never inconspicuous about our dealings with each other, but we did take measures to keep it from being too obvious. Nesta clicked her tongue, crossing her arms. I do hope you two are taking precautions, she said. It's a bit late to pretend to care, I said, but we were careful. Since I couldn't afford it, Isaac himself took the contraceptive brew. He knew I wouldn't have touched him otherwise. I reached into my pocket, drawing out a 20-mark copper. Elaine sucked in a breath, and I didn't bother to look at either of my sisters as I pushed it into her palm and said, I'll see you at home. The old sheepskin. Later, after another dinner of venison, when we were all gathered around the fire for the quiet hour before bed, I watched my sisters whispering and laughing together. They'd spent every copper I'd ever given them. On what? I don't know. Though Elaine had brought back a new chisel for our father's wood carving. The cloak and boots they'd whined about the night before had been too expensive. See, the sisters are fine. I like the sisters. I like the sisters. They bought their dad a chisel with the money she gave him. What'd she do? Well, I mean, she got the money, but still, they couldn't afford what they wanted, so they went and bought the dad a chisel so he could do his woodworking. Yeah, they're fine. I think their girls are fine. The cloaks and boots they wanted were too expensive, but I hadn't scolded them for it. Wait, why would she scold them for buying the dad a chisel? I hadn't scolded them for it, not when Nesta went out a second time to chop more wood without my asking. The girls are fine. Oh my gosh. Mercifully, I'd avoided another confrontation with the children of the blessed. My father was dozing in his chair, his cane laid across the gnarled knee, as good as any time to broach the subject of Thomas Manderay with Nesta. I turned to her, opening my mouth. But there was a roar that half deafened me, and my sister's scream as Snow burst into the room and an enormous, growling shape appeared in the doorway. Dun, 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 dun. And that's the end of chapter 3. She hunted, she cleaned and prepped, she shoaled, and they shopped. That's true. All right. We're going into chapter 4. How long did that take us? 41 minutes. Yeah, we're probably going to average 2 chapters a night. It'll take us a while to get through this book. I'm new. Is this smut? We are reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. We just got through chapter 3. This is our second live stream of reading out loud. It's kind of fun. You're a writer. Oh, nice. Yeah, there's like over 40 chapters. That would take us like 20 days plus. Now, I might start speeding it up, kind of going slow. It is kind of hard to learn. It is kind of hard to read out loud. I haven't read out loud like this in years, and it's fun. It's exercising a different part of your brain, Big block Chevy. Ah, Nick, okay. She said before they complained about their boots and shawls, though they were perfectly good and hers were falling apart. Oh, that's true. Great job. We need more books, less phones. This is true, Jeremy. Yeah. Well, so my situation is I've been traveling the country and I haven't been reading for like over a year. I just don't have the attention span for it. So I told you guys I was going to read this book and you guys were like, read it out loud to us. So we decided to do hour-long live stream blocks every night after we get done. Like I do these dinner live streams and campfire live streams. And so after that, we do now book live streams. It's kind of cool, actually. We'll see how much we stick with it. There's 46 chapters. Oh, man. That might mean 23 days. We'll see. Maybe I go 1 hour, twice a day. Who knows? I'm so happy you did. You guys are liking it. You think it's great? Okay, good. All right, we're going to hop into chapter 4. We'll probably try to get through this chapter if we can. I didn't know how the wooden... Oh, so I have to say, there's a big growling shape that just appeared into the room. Dun, 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 dun. I didn't know how the wooden hilt of my hunting knife had gotten into my hand. The first few moments were a blur of snarling of a gigantic... I can't read it. The first few moments were a blur of the snarling, gigantic beast with golden fur, and shrieking of my sisters, the blasting of the cold cascading into the room, and my father's terror-stricken face. Not a Martax, I realized, although the relief was short-lived. The beast had to be as large as a horse, and while his body was somewhat feline, his head was distinctly wolfish. I didn't know what to make of the curled, elk-like horns that protruded from his head. But lion or hound or elk, there was no doubt that the damage that this black dagger-like claws and yellow fangs could inflict. Had I been alone in the woods, I might have let myself be swallowed by fear. Might have fallen to my knees and wept for a clean, quick death, but I didn't have the room for terror. Wouldn't give it an inch of space, despite my heart's wild pounding in my ears. Somehow, I wound up in front of my sisters, even as the creature reared onto its hind legs and bellowed through a maw full of fangs. Murderers! But it was another word that echoed through me. Fairy. This is a fairy. Those ridiculous wards on our threshold were as good as cobwebs against him. I should have asked the mercenary how she had killed that fairy, but the beast's thick neck that looked like a good home for my knife. I dared a glance over my shoulder. My sisters screamed, kneeling against the wall of the hearth. My father crouched in front of them. Another body for me to defend. Stupidly, I took another step towards the fairy, keeping the table between us. Fighting the shaking in my hand, my bow and quiver were across the room, past the beast. I'd have to get around him to reach the ash arrow, and buy myself enough time to loose it. Murderers! The beast roared again, hackles raised. Please, my father babbled from behind me, failing to find it himself to come to my side. Whatever we have done, we did so unknowingly. We didn't kill anyone, Nesta added, choking on her sobs, arm lifted over her head, as if that tiny iron bracelet would do anything against the creature. I snatched another dinner knife off the table, the best I could do, unless I found a way to get to the quiver. Get out, I snapped at the creature, brandishing the knives before me. No iron in sight that I could use as a weapon, unless I chucked my sister's bracelets at him. Get out, be gone. With my trembling hands, I could barely keep my grip on the hilts. A nail. I'd take a damned iron nail if it were available. He bellowed at me in response, and the entire cottage shook, the plates and cups rattling against one another, but it left his massive neck exposed. I hurled my hunting knife. Fast, so fast I could barely see it. He slashed out with a paw, sending it skittering away as he snapped for my face with his teeth. I leaped back, almost stumbling over my cowering father. The fairy could have killed me. Could have, and yet the lunge had been a warning. Nesta and Elaine wept, prayed to whatever long-forgotten gods must be skulking about. Who killed him? The creature stalked towards us. He set a paw on the table and it groaned beneath him. His claws thudded as they embedded into the wood one by one. I dared another step forward as the beast stretched out his snout over the table to sniff at us. His eyes were green and flecked with amber. Not animal eyes, not their shape and coloring. My voice was surprised, even as I challenged. Killed who? He growled, low and vicious. The wolf, he said, and my heart stumbled a beat. The roar was gone, but the wrath lingered, perhaps even traced with sorrow. Elaine's wail reached a high-pitched shriek. I kept my chin up. A wolf? A large wolf with a gray coat, he snarled. Would he know if I lied? Fairies couldn't lie. All mortals knew that. But could they smell lies on human tongues? We had no chance of escaping this through fighting, but there might be other ways. If it was mistakenly killed, I said to the beast as calmly as I could, what payment could we offer in exchange? This was all a nightmare, and I'd awaken in a moment beside the fire, exhausted from my day at the market and my afternoon with Isaac. A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is book day 2 reading, yes. Oh, gosh. The trolls do make the chat interesting, at least. The beast let out a bark that could have been a bitter laugh. He pushed off the table to place a small circle before the shattered door. The cold was so intense that I shivered. The payment you must offer is the one demanded by the treaty between our realms. For a wolf, I retorted, and my father murmured my name in warning. I had vague memories of being read the treaty during my childhood lessons, but could recall nothing about wolves. The beast whirled on me. Who killed the wolf? I stared into those jaded eyes. I did. He blinked, and he glanced at my sisters and then back at me. At my thinness, no doubt, seeing only frailness instead. Surely you lie to save them. We didn't kill anything, Elaine wept. Please, please spare us. Nesta hushed her sharply through her own sobbing, but pushed Elaine farther behind her, my chest carved at the sight of it. My father climbed to his feet, grunting at the pain of his leg as he bobbled, but before he could limp towards me, I repeated, I killed it. The beast, who had been sniffing at my sister, studied me. I squared my shoulders. I sold its hide at the market today. If I had known it was a fairy, I wouldn't have touched it. Liar, he snarled. You knew. You would have been more tempted to slaughter if you had known. True, true, true. That was true. Can you blame me? Did it attack you? Were you provoked? I opened my mouth to say yes, but no, I said, letting out a snarl of my own. But considering all of your kind has done to us, considering what your kind still likes to do to us, and even if I had known beyond a doubt, it was deserved. Better to die with my chin held high than to grovel like a cowering worm. Even if his answering growl was the definition of wrath and rage, the firelight shone upon his exposed fangs, and I wondered how they'd feel on my throat, and how loudly my sisters would scream before they too died. But I knew, with a sudden uncoiling clarity, that Nesta would buy Elaine time to run. Not my father, whom she resented with her entire heart. Not me, because Nesta had always known and hated that she and I were two sides of the same coin, and that I could fight my own battles. But Elaine, the flower grower, the gentle heart, Nesta would go down swinging for her. It was a flash of understanding that had me angling my remaining knife at the beast. What is the payment the treaty requires? His eyes didn't leave my face, and he said, a life for a life. Any unprovoked attacks on fairy kind by humans are to be paid only by a human life in exchange. My sisters quieted their weeping. The mercenary in town had killed a fairy, but it had attacked her first. I didn't know, I said. Didn't know that part about the treaty. Fairies couldn't lie. He spoke it plainly enough, no word twisting. Most of you mortals have chosen to forget that part of the treaty, he said, which makes punishing you far more enjoyable. Isaac, you're blocked. Why do you guys keep spamming? My knees quaked. I couldn't escape this, couldn't outrun this, couldn't even try to run since he blocked the way to the door. Do it outside, I whispered, my voice trembling, not in here. Not where my family would have to wash away my blood and gore, even if he let them live. The fairy huffed a vicious laugh. Willing to accept your fate so easily? When I just stared at him, he said, for having the nerve to request where I slaughter you, I'll let you in on a secret, human. Prythian must claim your life in some way for the life you took from it. So as a representative of the immortal realm, I can either gut you like swine, or you can cross the wall and live out the remainders of your days in Prythian. I blinked. What? He said slowly, as if I were indeed as stupid as a swine. You can either die tonight or offer your life to Prythian by living in it forever, forsaking the human realm. Do it, Feyre, my father whispered behind me. Go. I didn't look at him as I said, live where? Each inch of Prythian is lethal to us. I'd be better off dying tonight than living in pure terror across the wall until I met my end in doubtlessly even more awful way. I have land, said the fairy quietly, almost reluctantly. I will grant you permission to live there. Why bother? Perhaps a fool's question, but... You murdered my friend, the beast snarled. Murdered him, skinned his corpse, sold it at the market, and then he said he deserved it. And yet you have the nerve to question my generosity? How typically human, he seemed to silently add. You didn't need to mention the loophole. I stepped so close, the fairy's breath heated my face. Fairies couldn't lie, but they could omit information. The beast snarled again. Foolish of me to forget that humans have such low opinions of us. Do you humans no longer understand mercy? He said it as his fangs inched towards my throat. Let me make this clear for you, girl. You can either come live in my home in Prythian, offer your life for the wolf's life in that way, or you can walk outside right now and be shredded to ribbons. It's your choice. My father's hobbling steps sounded before my gripped shoulder. Wait. My father's hobbling steps sounded before he gripped my shoulder. Please, good sir. Feyre is my youngest. I beseech you to spare her. She is all. She is all. But whatever he meant to say died in his throat as the beast roared again. But hearing those few words he'd managed to get out, the effort he made, it was like a blade to my belly. My father cringed as he said, please. Silence, the creature snapped. The rage boiled up in me, so blistering that it was an effort to keep from lunging to stab my dagger in his eye. But by the time I had so much as raised my arm, I knew he would have mawed around my neck. I can get gold, my father said, and my rage guttered. The only way he could get money was by begging. Even then, he'd be lucky to get a few coppers. I'd seen how pitiless the well-off were in our village. The monsters in our mortal realm had just as bad as those the wall. The beast sneered. How much is your daughter's life worth to you? Do you think it equates to a sum? Nesta still had Elaine behind her. Elaine's face was so pale it matched the snow drifting from outside the open door. But Nesta monitored every move the beast made. Her brows lowered. She didn't bother to look at my father, as if she knew his answer already. When my father didn't reply, I dared another step towards the beast, drawing his attention to me. I had to get him out, get him away from my family. But the way he'd brushed away my knife, any hope of escaping lay in somehow sneaking up on him. With his hearing, I doubted I'd be able to get a chance anytime soon, at least until he believed I was docile. If I trained to attack him or fled before then, he would destroy my family for the sheer enjoyment of it. Then he would find me again. I had no choice but to go, and then later I might find an opportunity to slit the beast's throat, or at least disable him long enough to flee. Try offering the fairy some flatware. As long as the fairies couldn't find me again, they couldn't hold me to the treaty, even if it made me a cursed oath breaker. But in going with him, I would be breaking the most important promise I'd ever made. Surely it trumped an ancient treaty that I hadn't even signed. So if you guys don't remember, she had made a promise to her mother on her mother's deathbed that she would protect the family. So I loosened my grip on the hilt of my remaining dagger and stared into those green eyes for a long, silent while before I said, when do we go? Those lupine features remained fierce and vicious. Any lingering hope I had of fighting died as he moved to the door. No, to the quiver I'd left behind it. He pulled out the ash arrow, sniffed it, and snarled at it. With two movements, he snapped it in half and chucked it into the fire behind my sister before turning back to me. I could smell my doom on his breath as he said, now. Now. Even Elaine lifted her head to gape at me in mute horror, but I couldn't look at her, couldn't look at Nesta, not when they were still crouched there, still silent. I turned to my father. His eyes glistened, so I glanced at the few cabinets we had, faded to yellow daffodils curving around the handles. Now. The beast paced in the doorway. I didn't want to contemplate where I was going to go or what he was going to do with me. Running would be foolish until it was the right time. The venison should hold you out for 2 weeks, I said to my father as I gathered my clothes to bulk up against the cold. Start on the fresh meat, then work your way through to the jerky. You know how to make it. Feyre, my father breathed, but I continued as I fastened my cloak. I left the money from the pelts on the dresser, I said. It will last you for a time if you're careful. I finally looked at my father again and allowed myself to memorize the lines on his face. My eyes stung, but I blinked the moisture away as I stuffed my hands into my worn gloves. When spring comes, hunt in the grove just south of Big Bend and Silver Spring Creek. The rabbits make their warrens there. Ask Isaac Hale to show you how to make snares. I taught him last year. My father nodded, covering his mouth with a hand. The beast growled his warning and prowled into the night. I made to follow him and paused to look at my sisters, still crouched by the fire, as if they wouldn't dare to move until I was gone. Elaine mouthed my name but kept cowering, kept her head down. So I turned to Nesta, whose face was so similar to my mother's, so cold and unrelenting. Whatever you do, I said quietly, don't marry Thomas Manderay. His father hurts his wife, and none of his sons do anything to stop it. Nesta's eyes widened, but I added, bruises are harder to conceal than poverty. Nesta stiffened but said nothing. Both of my sisters said absolutely nothing as I turned towards the open door, but a hand wrapped around my arm, tugging me to stop. I turned around to face him. My father opened and closed his mouth. Outside, the beast, sensing I had been detained, sent a snarl rumbling into the cottage. Feyre, my father said. His fingers trembled as he grasped my gloved hands, but his eyes became clearer and bolder than I'd seen them in years. You were always too good for here, Feyre. Too good for us. Too good for everyone. He squeezed my hand. If you ever escape, ever convince them that you've paid your debt, don't return to here. I hadn't expected a heart-wrenching goodbye, but I hadn't imagined this either. Don't ever come back, my father said, releasing his hands to shake me by the shoulders. Feyre. He stumbled over my name, his throat bobbing. You go somewhere new, and you make a name for yourself. Beyond the beast was just a shadow, a life for a life. But what if the life offered as payment also meant losing 3 others? The thought alone was enough to steel me, anchor me. I'd never told my father of the promise I'd made to my mother, and there was no use explaining it now, so I shrugged off his grip and left. I let the sounds of the snow crunching underfoot drive out my father's words as I followed the beast into the night-shrouded woods. Oh, man! That's it. We're on to chapter 5. We got 100 people in here. We've been live for 61 minutes. That's so exciting. We did 2 chapters tonight. So in summary, she went to town. Okay, so let's summarize where we are in this book. So she hunted a deer, and she took down a wolf that was kind of coming at her, and she took the deer to town, or sorry, she took the deer to her family. She doesn't really seem to like her family very much. She took the deer to her family, and they have enough food for a couple weeks. She went to town and sold the wolf pelt to a mercenary lady, got some information about fairies when she did that. She went home, and they had some extra, they had the money from selling the wolf pelt. And then a fairy came to the house and demanded a life for a life because she had taken the life of his wolf friend. And so he took her. And that's where we're at now. Can't stop now. The hour went so quick. One more chapter. I can't believe you, chicken. You're still in here. Thank you for explaining. You're heartbroken. Why? Because I muted you? You were spamming the chat with weird chicken noises. We didn't need that. We don't need the weird chicken noises in the chat, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're hanging out. I hope you guys are doing good. Thanks for boosting the algorithm, I suppose. I don't know how the TikTok algorithm works, but I will say we have 102 people in here, 72 likes. Thank you, you guys. $15.87 in super chats. That's amazing. I guess that's it for tonight's book reading. We'll do it again tomorrow night. Supposed to be quiet while she reads. Oh, I like you guys engaging in the chat and stuff. It's fun. Yeah, I don't know. It's only 9:50 for me p.m. Would have had 74. Oh, hey, we do have 74 likes. We have 75 likes. Hey, thank you, guys. Thanks for reading. Let's do one more hour. We might build up to 2. It kind of takes a lot to read all that long. I saw none of the chat, just listened. Great job. Oh, thanks, sweet Tater Kim. TK with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you, TK. Bach, says chicken. Hi, Bavish. I'm a fool for green hair. Oh, thanks, sir. Love your reading. Thanks, Sharon. It's 12:50 your time. Hi, please shout you out. Sure, Bavish. You loved the reading. Thanks, Wonderlust. Yeah, it was fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely different. Yeah, I'm liking the story. The story is unique. You did great, thanks. I missed your reading. You can always rewind. You can also play it back if you want to. Now, I will say, listening to books out loud is not going to be for everybody. We're going to read through this book. We'll see how long it takes to get through it and how many days. And then probably in the next couple weeks or so, whenever we finish the book, I will do a TikTok live stream where I bring people up in boxes who read the book and want to talk about it. We'll see how that goes. I've never done anything like that before either. I still need to pull the book club guide for this book. India. Oh, nice. Almost forgot to click the like. Oh, thanks, Donna. Thanks for liking. Are you going back on TikTok now? I don't know. So it's 9:50. Yeah, I guess maybe I'll just go to bed. Sorry to the chicken, for I am a loyal subber. Say sorry to the chicken, for I am a loyal subber. Are you subscribed to me, chicken? Thanks for subscribing. I am hearing different perceptions. Ever seen a trouser snake? Well, loco, I have. Guess what? What, Reef? Leave some time for yourself. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go to bed. Get some sleep. It's 10 o'clock. Maybe I'll get up earlier that way. Guess what, chicken butt? Uh-oh, Reef knows. Where are you at now? We're at Lake Mead. We're out in Nevada camping. Gonna probably try to we're camping. We're probably gonna try to go to the water tomorrow. I'll plan on making breakfast with you guys. I'll either do oatmeal or pancakes. I'm not sure which. We did pancakes this morning and they were pretty good. So we'll do coffee and breakfast in the morning. Probably go out by the water, and then tomorrow night probably just do salad again. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. I won't go live on TikTok. Thanks for listening to the book with me. We'll see you guys tomorrow. New Leaf, campfires, chicken reef, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.